Well, we might as well jump into some of the basics here. First on the agenda is review and approval of the previous meetings notes. I'll make a motion to approve if Mary Ann, you want to
Okay,
second the
yeah.
motion of your own.
I wrote them, so I hope they're good.
Perfect. And I've read them, so we've got two people. And Jim, as always, I don't know if you have the link to this. I know it's posted on the town's website, but all of our meeting notes, agendas, and other materials are on a share and a cloud share, so you can jump in on any of that whenever you need to. So let's see. First item agenda is, as always, public forum.
I don't think there's anybody on there, right? There's only four of us, right?
We've got Jim. I think that's it. So I'm tempted to table item 3, the locomotion thing, until we give Susan enough time to possibly jump on. Instead, I think I'll shift around the item number 4 and 5. I'll shift around the quarterly initiatives. Actually, you know what? I'll speak to something else. I have put in a request with Valerie Caples from the town for a slot on an upcoming select board meeting agenda, so that we can present a couple of the things that we were able to button up at the end of last year to them, so that they can finally have that stuff in consideration, as well as just touch base with them and see if there's anything else they want to update us on. I think you're muted, Mary Ann.
Can you talk now?
Yes.
Okay, very, very low. I don't know what happened.
Oh, I'm sorry. Should I try again? Looks like Tanya just bounced in and out. Can you hear me okay?
It's really low. I don't know if it's just me or not.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to take these out. Can you hear me better now?
No.
Then it might be on your end.
Okay.
I can hear you perfectly. Jim, are you having any audio problems?
None at all.
Okay.
Okay.
I saw Tanya jump in and then jump out. I was mentioning, Mary Ann, that I put in a request to Valerie Caples to get us on the agenda for an upcoming select board meeting, so that we could present a couple of the things that we had buttoned up at the end of last year, as well as just touch base with them. So as soon as I know when that date is, I'll send a note around to everybody, because I know in the last couple meetings, some things have come up about some of the, I know whether it's ARPA, some of the things that the ARPA funds committee had been bringing up about, say, Pine Street. I know there was a push to get some of the ARPA money for I don't want to say it was a Pine Street sidewalk thing, but it sounded a lot like something that we had already done, that we had in the Pine Street project that we'd inherited, that was already budgeted for. So if we've got any questions or anything like that, I'll give everybody a chance to pass all those questions over, and we can ask the select board when we get our date. Hi, Tanya.
Hi.
Next, we're mixing up the agenda a little bit, Tanya, because we're anticipating that Susan Grasso from Local Motion might join us. So we're just giving her a little time to jump on. So we're going to jump to item number 4, quarterly initiatives. I had mentioned the idea back, I believe, in December, about presenting an initiative per quarter to the select board, that we work for 2.5 months or whatever on something that we can put in front of them. And they could really be anything. They could be continuations of some of the things that we've discussed before. They could be new things. They could be related to grant writing. They could be extensions of some of the outreach we've done with some of the other groups in the town, the multi-town area here. And I just wanted to get that back on everybody's radar so that we can start talking about that. I didn't know if anybody had discussed that or had any thoughts about that in the meantime, but when I send the note out about when we get our date for the select board, I'll also put a mention in there to the rest of the gang, asking them if they've gotten any further thoughts on what our first initiative should be that we put in front of the select board for this year. Let me just check my email to see if Susan's reached out. No, it doesn't look like it, unfortunately. So
That's not the person that was on last week, was it?
yes, she had, I
Oh.
believe was on the list of attendees from the last meeting.
Okay. Yeah.
And Tanya, I had touched base with Susan previously in that multi-town group that we're now invited to their meetings on, that I think they happen. I want to say they happen quarterly, but I'll have to go back and check my notes. I know I haven't gotten another invite into a recent one, though I get copied on a lot of things from them. But Susan is from Local Motion. Marianne came up with the idea that we should throw onto this month's agenda their offers to help with bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure planning and things like that. They've got a lot of obviously tools and research and things like that. Marianne, do you want to take over and throw out some of your ideas on that? I think you're muted.
I love the idea that they have this trailer so that we can do a first draft at the paint lines for a bikeway or sidewalks or whatever we choose to do first. And it seems like a really easy way to get the public thinking about what we're proposing. It's very visual. You could write this up, but it would never be any better than what a visual presentation would look like, and people would get the idea of how to maneuver around these new paint lines. So I think that's the first thing. That would be an easy first step.
That's a great idea. That can be something we bring up to the select board when we give them the Pine Street stop sign thing. It'll give us a chance to, because again, I know from the ARPA committee, the Pine Street traffic calming that they had already approved of and that we kind of had to put on ice for a little bit because of the public's familiarity with the whole thing. It sounds like somebody had pushed that forward into the ARPA funds process. I'm assuming that the select board is going to make their decisions based on, where they're at overall, and not simply that somebody on the ARPA committee pushed it through. But I would love to actually get their take on what they think a realistic timeline can be for what would end up being phase 2 of Pine Street. And equally, I think we can use this, and maybe this becomes our Q1 initiative, but we could look at Mountain Street. Like we could look at Deveno Lane, and which we know is a spot that everybody down there has been talking about, a similar kind of a traffic calming thing. We could potentially float the idea of that, and it would be awesome to see what Local Motion could do to help us pave the way for that.
Yeah, that sounds great. So we're talking about two initiatives then regarding Pine Street plus Deveno Mountain.
I see the Pine Street thing as just continuation of what we're late in presenting our formal plan because we were so late in getting consensus on it or quorum on it. So that's really a holdover from Q4 of 2022. And we're going to present that to the select board, hopefully maybe even next week. And then that'll it's going to be that, our mission, and just some other, a few other odds and ends and things like that. In addition to, it'll be the first time we will have gone in front of the select board formally. So I'm looking forward to just being able to connect with them on a greater level than, than we have in the past. It's obviously awesome that Ian is our sponsor in this whole thing. I can't wait to actually see some of the other gang and hear any of their comments and concerns and ideas as well face to face. So,
Okay, great.
but I think we could do something though. I think we should be open to the idea of like focusing on something for March that we can get to them at the end of March or something like that as an initiative. And it can be anything. Again, we floated all kinds of ideas just as thought starters back in December. They don't have to be huge. They don't have to be things that we have to budget for. They can just be things that we want to get in front of them and then just leave it to them to do whatever they want to do with it. Let's see. So we're now at item number 5, other business. I already covered a little bit of the other business by mentioning our hopeful visit to the select board at the beginning. Does anybody else have anything we need to discuss this particular month besides our board's attendance at these? This.
I do have something that a community member brought up to me, but I don't know if it should be discussed in this section or not.
Sounds like an amazing spot to discuss it.
So it was a couple of parents. I volunteer for the food shelf once a month, and so a few parents that also help out there said that there are a few kids that don't live right in town but want to come to town to ride their bikes, on the pump track, etc.
Yeah.
And don't have transportation back and forth for a bike. So they're questioning about places to lock up a bike and or basically do a library checkout. I think there was another group in town, they said, that was looking into that already, maybe a rec program or something that was already looking at maybe doing that. But yeah, so kids that don't have a way to do that but want to come to town bike with their friends, but there's no safe place to really lock up a bike for more than an hour or two. And they were questioning some kind of covered place so that maybe people wouldn't just see it in the open, but it's still just a regular lock station, or what would be a secure way? Is there one? Has anyone figured out one to actually lock up bikes long term? Or do we just have to do some kind of library for them?
You have, I feel, hit on multiple subjects here.
Yeah.
You might have given us, with this bike shelter thing, you might have given us our Q1 initiative that we could put in front of the select board.
Okay.
It also sounds like something that, when you mentioned the pump track, we could partner with the rec club on, Meredith and the gang over there, or actually the rec department, I should say, thinking of Meredith and her crew. So let me just throw out a couple things. That multi-town group that Susan Grasso and everybody else is part of, that I attended their first meeting of the year, they mentioned that there are multiple things that Local Motion and other groups can actually hook up lending programs through town libraries, from helmets to bikes to all kinds of things. I can't remember what Lawrence is currently doing, but I know that the library in Middlebury is all in on this stuff. You can go and take out an e-bike from the Middlebury Library, as an example.
I believe Virgins as well.
Yeah, amazing, right? So I know that from being married to the new children's librarian at Lawrence Memorial Library, I know that they're anxious to start doing all kinds of things like that as well. So we could certainly we could certainly discuss that with them. We should do, because we're going to do a couple audits. We're going to do a sidewalk audit, crosswalk audit, and things like that. We should do an audit of bike racks in town. I don't know that there are very many.
I don't think so.
No, there are no. That's why some of the storefronts seem to object to bikes being put up against glass windows, for example. It's really a problem.
So this is interesting. Yeah, I know from experience that I would leave when I would ride my bicycle to where the 116 bus would pick up in front of the bank there off the town green. I would just lean my bike up against the fence at Howden Hall with a, sometimes not even, but with like a bungee cord, making it look like there was a lock to it. And I would leave it there for a week and it would never get touched. Of course, that might have been the bike too, to be honest. But this could be really cool. So, all right, let's think about bike racks. Let's think about a bike shelter. Tanya, mixed in with what you noted as a challenge, do the people that had mentioned this to you, do they have a problem getting their bikes to the village?
Yes, that's the to and from was part of it. That's why she was asking specifically about like for longer term, if, you know, if we're afraid of bike theft now, maybe at least sheltered bike locking area would prevent people from looking at it, thinking of it. I don't know, you can put up a fake camera and say you're being monitored, whatever, just to make it so that it's just a safe place to lock up a kid's bike for long term so they can come to town and use it. But, you know, has a deterrent for, you're not immediately seeing them from the road. You're not going to think to go and steal them. It's just the kids that know that they can go lock it there or whatever. I don't know. She came up with multiple ideas. It's a tough thing.
Are they Bristol residents?
Yes, just not right in town. They're not in walking distance of the pump track.
Elementary school?
Yes.
Okay, so a reason why I'm asking these like demographic questions, we can ask Local Motion because I know they get an absolute dump truck load of product donated to them from bike companies and from Darn Tough and from all these different companies for distribution. Like my wife was running right up until last week. She was running the Bike Walk and Roll to School program that happened once a month for BES. And she would get crates full of helmets and all kinds of things like that. We can ask if Local Motion gets bike locks, and we can certainly set up some kind of a program through BES that gets kids, especially kids from outside the village, bike locks. I know that there's not a big problem with bike theft at BES, thankfully, right now, which actually might make it easier for us to distribute bike locks like that. Those things are available. So I'll make a note to reach out and see if we can get those.
Great.
But in the meantime, yeah, okay, we can add a bike rack audit to our list of things, which I'm hoping to do multi-item audit in the next 2 weeks here.
Cool.
I'm really curious as to why the park hasn't to date had a bike rack available.
This is a curious question. This is a curious situation, right?
Yeah. With so many bikers going through town.
And of course the area in front of what is it, Mini Factory, of course, is where the other half of the bikers end up parking.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah, the only bike rack that I can picture besides the one obviously at the couple at BES, and I would assume there's something at Mount Abe too, is there's a bike rack right next to the playground on the town green. But I cannot for the life of me picture anything over at the rec fields. There's certainly nothing on Main Street. There's a bike rack in front of, I think there's a bike rack in front of the bank that's, I don't want to get the bank names wrong. The one that's next to Tandem, the one that's at the right there.
That's National Bank of Middlebury.
Yeah, I think there's a bike rack right there.
Oh.
At least I can picture it because I think yeah, there is a bike rack there, I believe. But that's to your point.
Library.
Right?
What?
There's one in front of the library. Yeah, but there's nothing.
That's it.
Nowhere else. Yeah. So this could be an interesting thing to follow up on. Any other thoughts, ideas, comments, questions, or anything like that before we wrap up? Okay, as noted, I will let everybody know as soon as we get a date for going in front of the select board. I don't know, I know that they're back to in very open in-person stuff. I don't know if our attendance will be on Zoom or whatever, but I'll certainly let everybody know when that's going to happen, and I'll put the call out for questions and comments that we want to run in front of the select board, in addition to the things that we're actually going to be presenting. In addition to that, call for this quarterly initiative thing, and we'll note coming out of this meeting that this I don't know what you call it, like bike infrastructure idea, bike racks and bike shelter could be something that's absolutely worth putting in front of the select board. I don't believe they've assigned any of the ARPA money yet, but I could be wrong about that. And that feels like it would be a real easy win there to do some kind of a bike shelter or something like that. Especially
Yeah,
if we,
relatively low cost and easy to get approved.
it would be like, I mean, I have a woodshed that I built in an afternoon.
Right,
Would basically be like that kind of a thing.
exactly.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Okay, everybody, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, amazing, for the seconding. Jim, as always, thank you for coming. Our friends at NEAT, thanks for hooking us up. Yeah, and again, to everybody, thank you for attending. I obviously appreciate it. Sorry I was absent. I was unfortunately overseas last month, and so could not make it. But anyway, it's great seeing you all, and look for an email hopefully tomorrow on the select board thing.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.